Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare and welcome back to the Human Revolution. Where we last left off, I was about to infiltrate a parking garage full of harvesters. Hostile harvesters, who don't think I should be here. Now, I could take them all down with various methods of force, but instead I'm going to do something different today. After all, they are supposed to be my allies, so let's try not to hurt too many of them, you know. No, what I'm going to do is ghost the map. That means nobody sees me, nobody reacts to me, nobody notices I was ever there. It's a viable way to get through basically the entire game, boss battles aside. And the fact that it's boss battles aside is kind of a sticking point for a lot of people. Alright, so this, by the way, down here, this is where you land if you just sort of jump out using the Icarus mod to prevent yourself from dying. But there's nothing down here, sadly. Now, the exit is one floor up, and it's through the elevator doors. This gets you down to the second floor, and right next to the entrance to the third floor. Now, from here, I don't have to worry about that guy sitting down, because he is actually asleep. You can see him just sort of nodding off there. If he's not, like, actually asleep, then he's close enough. And, you know, if I set off an alert, even, like, not an alarm, but just an alert, then he would wake up. Anyway, we got past the patrolling guy, and there's another patrolling guy off in the distance there. And once again, there's another sleeping guy in the foreground. Well, middle ground, actually. Foreground would be these pillars I'm hiding behind. Anyway, other sitting guy. That guy is obviously awake. Hey, there's a pocket secretary. Not something I could really use right now, but it's nice to have. Alright, so if that patrolling guard doesn't see me, I can just get past these obstacles here. Move a couple of boxes so I can get through a hole in the wall. Hide behind this power generator, and the door I need to enter is right here. Bam. Ghosted. Oh hey, it's an invisible man ceiling. Is that a bandana, or is that part of his mask?
That's far enough, Guaylo.
By the way, the reason I ghosted this area is because Tong always has 3 complaints, and if I do it like this, they are the most petty possible complaints.
Tong.
You disappoint me, Jensen. I thought we were friends. Then my hacker goes missing. You break into my place of business, and you don't even have the manners to knock when you enter a room. A lot of bell tower heavies looking for you. Any reason I don't just turn you over?
Yeah. Vasily Sevchenko.
Never touch the stuff.
You're wearing his arm. GPL device inside it. Let me straight to you.
Scavenged tech. Get you every time. Wrong woman, don't do that here. Sorry to say, the man I got this from wasn't in a position to complain. Bell Tower gave us his corpse a few weeks ago.
Bell Tower? Not Tai Young?
Tai Young's not the one grabbing people off my streets and giving me choice args, so I close my eyes.
Sevchenko had 4 other scientists with him.
I'm not wearing any of them. So maybe they're still alive, and maybe I help you out with this.
Go on.
I've got a pretty good idea where Bell Tower's been dragging people. Problem is, bastard's got my son, and he gets a bullet if I step out of line. See where I'm going with this?
Where's he being held?
One of my harvester boys will tell you all about it. Meet him in the sewers near the Alice Garden pods. Then, when you free my boy, come back and we talk some more.
I can hardly wait.
You find my boy, Lao Wai. He's smart, but he's not a fighter. He's more a, how you say it, scrapper. When my boy is free, that's when you'll hear more about your scientists.
Alright, so interesting note, this mission I'm about to go on doesn't exist in the base game. I believe it's a pre-order bonus that got bundled into the director's cut. Like, it's not a separate DLC even, it's just like a little extra bonus. One extra map that distracts you from the main quest line. I mean, it makes sense, it fits, but you don't have to do it. Also, now that I'm nice buddy-buddy with Tong again, I can talk to everybody, they won't shoot me, and I can take whatever I want. I mean, so long as I don't, you know, hack anything in front of someone who's awake and watching me. Like, that's still off the table, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm usually careful about that, so I can't tell for sure. Anyway, his son is, of course, Tracer Tong. Password Mirror Shades. Tracer Tong is less enthusiastic than his dad is about the idea of using augmentations, relying on them, and accepting them in exchange for accepting Bell Tower abducting people out of Hengsha. And that is not something he wants to do. Also, that other comment there was about some sort of a
access granted.
About some sort of a cloaking device, handheld cloaking device, rather than the built-in one that Jensen has. It's talking about the super drugs and the return of AIDS. Sorry, super bacteria and the return of AIDS. Also, that's kind of embarrassing, but I could actually have used that. I was kind of confused, because I think I only need like one more.
You got a free pass from the boss, but don't try anything stupid, or you're going to end up as spare parts. A lot of guys here wouldn't mind trying out some of that gear you got.
And I confused use with combine.
哎，老外，那个老人说你没事儿，这样我就放心了。下次见面的时候，说不定他就改变想法喽。我想我应该好好利用这双腿。
By the way, the news is different on this map. So that's sort of what I'm waiting for. Waiting for it to cycle again because I can't just turn this one off and on. For some reason. Oh, hang on, there's something flashing. Ah, heavy rifle ammo. Not gonna use that. Takes up way too much space even to sell. Come on. Drink a beer. Ah, there it goes. Alright, let's have a listen.
Back again to Detroit, where a handful of people were taken into custody this evening following yet another anti-augmentation demonstration. This time, patients attempting to access the 2nd Avenue Limb Clinic found their route blocked by supporters of the Humanity Front movement. The pro-human organization had received permission to gather and protest earlier in the week, but police decided to shut down the legal rally prematurely and closed the Broadview Tunnel.
Weasel words.
Perhaps they feared what might happen once the hostage situation at Seraph Industries resolved. Regardless, several violent skirmishes did break out, but no serious injuries were reported. This is Eliza Kassan, reporting to you live from Picus.
Alright, that's enough of that. So, since these guys could have been knocked out, they don't have too much to say.
这老板也比以前好说话了，他估计是担心他的孩子们，那
With that guy, I've pretty much heard all three.
The pro-human organization had received permission to
Oh, I guess there's 4.
我督促你。哎，我们都会到。注意好人，兄弟。
Yep, got a bunch of singularity believers around here. Ooh, more remote detonated explosive devices.
You got a free pass from the boss, but don't try anything stupid, or you're going to end up as spare parts.
Well, another scholar book. And that guy was leaning on a weak wall. So it could have potentially killed him by coming in through the other way. But I didn't. Instead, I can use this to show off an alternate route. It's not exactly the most stealthy of routes, as you may have noticed by that delayed reaction there. Busting open the wall does kind of get a lot of attention. Don't think I've forgotten about you. Boxes. Wait, what's he sitting on?
Since when have corporations acted accountable for their mistakes? We're talking about millions of chips.
Oh, and here's the sewer entrance. Like I said before, this is the most convenient way of getting down here to the 3rd floor, but there are some obstacles in between the door there and the sewer entrance. I'll get into that in another video. So, I seem to recall that there was some other thing that was down on this floor, but I can't seem to recall where it is, and I don't think it's connected to that one broken wall there. Yeah, definitely a good idea.
You got a free pass from the boss.
Yep, they've run out of stuff to say. Thing is that most of them could be unconscious or dead by now, so, you know. But yeah, if you steal stuff, if you knock people out, if you kill people, he will be angry at that. Tong will be. But I did none of those things. Instead, all I did was be rude enough to not knock on a door when I enter a room. I think that's a comment on ghosting the map. It makes me wonder what would happen if I got their attention, like right at the end there. Interesting. I don't imagine that they've missed out hearing about the whole, you know, the whole recall and replace thing, so obviously they're not doing it. Also, I missed a pocket secretary down there in the corner. That little basket. Only noticed that when reviewing the footage here. Right, this is what I was talking about earlier. The downstairs weak wall. Not connected to that passageway I broke into earlier, but it is down there. And there's also this other weak wall. Just a second. There we go. And it lets you sneak past a couple of guards and get into the workshop area here. Well, of course, it doesn't really matter because, you know, I am their ally now. Well, there is this one locked computer here, and I'm pretty sure that personal secretary I missed, pocket secretary, has the login information for that. Because I remember getting into that during a practice run without having to use one of these automatic unlocking devices. Yeah, it's kind of funny watching them get all alerted to broken walls when, you know, I'm just wandering around here right in front of them. They don't care. I guess they're just annoyed that I keep busting down their garage. But yeah, I think you have to use an AUD to get, or just hack it, you know, that also works, in order to get into that safe. But so long as no one sees you toss one of those things, you'll be good. And this is me searching for that pocket secretary that I know is around here somewhere, but I don't see it anywhere because it was in that bathroom earlier. Laser rifle. I almost forgot about the laser rifle. Yes, laser rifle battery. I think that's also something that comes from the pre-order edition, because I don't seem to recall being able to play with one back in the original game. But wherever it came from, it's our first energy weapon. Our first proof that energy weapons exist in 2027. Oh, yeah, it's another one of those urgent response needed. Amazing how they find these computers. Alright, now. That's right, my battery's charged up, so I can break open this wall down here. Let's see what's on the other side. Oh, it's right over here. Whoops. Oh, shit. Okay. This is why you need to check what's behind your target, ladies and gentlemen, in addition to checking your targets. Well, I've kind of screwed the pooch for this run, so I might as well. I was going to show off this laser rifle anyway, so now I've got a good excuse. You can see that the iron sights don't have a dot in the center. It's a little annoying. But hey, that was a heavy and whoa. Where did his weapon go? What the? Put his weapon away. I didn't do that. Maybe it's because I leaned against the wall. You can't lean against the wall when you've got a heavy weapon, maybe? Yeah, that's how fast one of the light guys goes down. And this thing has some pretty nice range. At least around here. But yeah, when I was talking about the heavy rifle earlier, there is a lot of ammunition you can get. It takes up a lot of space, it's really not exactly worth it. Not when you compare it to a smaller rifle that can do the same job and take up a lot less space. I think I'm hitting that guy. And I'm out of ammo. Alright, well, let's switch to the combat rifle and turn on the tracking bullets mode. See, the way it works is that there are a bunch of little white circles on the interface, and if they turn red, then it's too much of a curvature. It can't curve around to hit the guy. Anyway, I'm just sort of cutting into this because I missed searching these little cells on my first run through the map, and obviously I'm cutting out my second run through the map for the most part. So here's where I left off. with fewer broken walls and fewer harvesters trying to kill me.
We're talking about bullshit, people. Bollocks if you're
Oh, a third laser battery.
in Paris, scatter.
And that's the last one we're going to find for several hours.
It's all the same everywhere else. Let me keep you up on the latest pilot.
That, by the way, shut off the electricity arcing through this little room here. But the question is, how does one get inside of it? Well, the security terminal, of course, works on that turret and the camera downstairs. Aha! There we go. Alright. Turning off the electricity makes it safe to walk around in here and access this vent. And this vent allows you to get a shortcut into the workshop, because that's the direction you're supposed to be going when you're finding infiltration routes. Although obviously that guy would have been a problem, normally, because he's standing right there and right next to the destructible wall. Alright, here's the exit, but believe it or not, we are not quite done here yet. No, there's one more thing. One more infiltration route. It's the staircase. Now, the trouble with the staircase is that you have to hack your way in. Or use an automatic unlocking device, of course. That's always an option.
Access granted.
There we go. Now, the nice thing about this is that it lets you skip past a whole mess of harvesters. And get down here, which is right next to where the workshop is. Although you do have to hack your way back out again. Unfortunately, you can't get down to the base level because they've blocked the door off with a bunch of wood. And this really looks like there should be something here, but there's not. Kind of a shame. Looks like a missed opportunity. But that's that. Time to go sidetrack to the Alice Garden pods again. Even though we are still not going inside. Come on. Alright, that's a lot of walking you guys just missed. So, the place I need to go is actually right past where we met Zelazny. And it's this door right here. The old noodle factory.
You one of Tom's boys?
No. I just like hanging out in the sewers because they smell better than what I eat for breakfast. Any other stupid questions?
Not yet. But if I come up with one, I'll be sure to ask. Where's the kid?
We thought he was in the upper city, holed up nice and tight inside the bell tower compound. But as it turned out, the fox got nervous. Didn't like the look of Tong's flex stick, so they moved his son someplace safer.
What could be safer than inside bell tower headquarters?
You're about to find out, Migrant. They're holding him just around that corner in the basement of an old noodle factory. Won't be easy getting him out either, because the men guarding him aren't your typical bell tower police. These are warriors, specially trained, heavily augmented.
I have a feeling I may have met them before. If that's the case, you got an escape plan?
You are the escape plan, my friend. Didn't Tong tell you? If bell tower finds out anyone else is involved, things are going to get very ugly in Lower Hengsha.
So Tong's willing to risk his kid's life on one man's abilities?
Not necessarily. When you get to Tong's son, give him this. He'll know what to do with it. Now get going. Wouldn't want you to miss your next ride.
Alright. You know, I sold a whole bunch of these on my way over, and now I got a bunch more. Alright, so unknown handheld device, although if you were paying attention you should have a good idea of what it is. But yeah, let's do the extra mini-map here. It's a bit smaller than a full mission map, But there's a lot of stuff here. Not really enough to justify saying that it's safer than Bell Tower headquarters. But what do you gotta do? You gotta work with the map assets you've got. Also, the guys around here are complicit in a kidnapping and, like the guy said, are heavily augmented. So I am not going to give them the police approach.
Access granted.
Full lethal. That's the name of the game today. So you, Mr. Isolated on his own. If I could do this. There we go. Yeah, down he goes. I'll take that shotgun you were cleaning and... Oh, what's this? Grenade launcher ammo. I am intrigued. Alright, I got ran into a little problem further down the line. And this was my last save point. Whole bunch of Cyber Boost Pro Energy bars. Ooh, and a beer. Oh, and vodka. Hooray. Time to get wasted. What was this? It's one of those laser panels, but it was unlocked. These are the lasers, by the way. But yeah, an unlocked node. That's unheard of, actually. I have never run into a situation like that. Anyway, if you wanted to avoid the lasers and avoid the gas, you would have had to get through these guys here. Alright, let's leave a present for the next guy who decides to investigate.
In the area. Keep searching.
Let's see someone get close enough to it. Can I get two? No? Then I'll settle for one. Alright. Let's try out this seeking ammo again. Oh, hello there. Didn't really have the chance to test it out there. But hey, I killed them both without taking a single bullet. So I'm not going to be complaining. Lots of shotgun stuff. And machine pistols. Alright, so this here is actually another shortcut. Right to where Tong is. Tracer Tong, that is. But I'm not going to use it. By the way, the explosion riled up the enemies in the main area. The weak wall would get me past the main area without having to deal with any of them, but I want to deal with them. I want to show off everything, you know that. So, back into this first area here, and, oh, missed a beer. Not anymore. What about you guys? Any more beers? No? Alright, this is the only other way forward. This door here. And over here we've got a whole bunch of guys downstairs, one guy upstairs. Gotta be careful here.
Someone hiding over there?
Oh crap. One of them saw me somehow. I don't know how, but he saw me. Oh, I got the alarm. Where are you hiding? Oh. There you are. Someone tried to use EMP on me. That did not work. And my aim just plain sucks, apparently. But yeah, the ogre down there That guy can actually take 2 shots. Fairly direct shots. Alright, 1 guy left downstairs, looks like. Oh, someone's turning invisible. Alright, but yeah, red, white. When it's white, you can fire. Or, well, you can fire either way, but when it's white, you can expect to hit something. Alright, that last guy downstairs, by the way, I'm not worried about him because he is in a different room. He is in the room with a weak wall. And he often leans back against it. Let's reset the alarm here. Another automatic unlocking device. I'm not even going to bother taking it. Alright. These guys are a little worried about holding on to Tracer Tong. Apparently he's a little insufferable. And also he's a political prisoner because if they kill him, there is going to be a war in the streets of Hangsha. Guaranteed. Oh good, they didn't use all their EMP grenades. But yeah, once everybody knows where you are and the bullets are flying, the combat rifle is pretty effective. Pretty good weapon. Especially now that I've put some damage mods on it and it can actually hurt people. That's an important thing to have. A weapon that hurts people. Nothing but bricks behind those guys. Ah, pistol ammo. That's the other reason I'm leaning on the combat rifle. I had been short on pistol ammo. Although now, it looks like I've gotten up to almost 3 clips, so that should be enough to start using it again. But yeah, it's better used for stealth situations because it is a silent killer. Unlike the combat rifle, even with the silencer.
Come on, Father. How long is it going to take to break me out of here? I'm bored almost to tears.
What do you know? He is insufferable. Right, but that's not the way to get down. The way to get down is to jump down here. This is the guy I was telling you about earlier. Behind him is the weak wall I was telling you about.
I heard that.
So you did. Yep, there it is, the weak wall. Ooh, hypostim. But it is a good idea to get in here first. Because this security hub, only 1 point to hack. Come on.
Access
right, as I was saying, this security hub lets you open all of the doors and shut off all of the cameras. There we go, just for illustration purposes here. And this is where the cells are, and what kind of building was this? If there are cells in here and it's the basement of an old noodle factory. What did they use to make the noodles? Or the broth? And why is that bar shining out of the toilet? It was weird. Toast next to his bed? Huh.
You Tom's kid.
So my mother keeps telling me, but you are neither bell tower nor Chinese. Am I to assume my honored father is covering his back by sending you in to spring me instead of his harvesters?
Wise assumption. Let's get out of here.
I don't think so. Last time I checked, Bell Tower had a lot of firepower out there. I'm not willing to risk my neck on the unlikely possibility that you neutralized all of it. No offense, American.
None taken. I wasn't crazy about the odds myself, but when I questioned it, I was told to give you this.
Well, well. Way to go, Father. This changes everything. Assuming they reassembled it correctly. You ready to go?
Well, first of all...
I feel a lot more confident about things if I knew what the device was and exactly what you intend to do with it.
You mean they didn't tell you? Not surprising, I suppose, given how much Father enjoys his little secrets. I assume you've noticed how his harvesters like to repurpose existing technology?
If you mean steal it from other people and sell it to new customers, then yeah, I noticed.
Not necessarily a practice I approve of, but not everything gets resold. Sometimes it is taken apart and reassembled into something more useful. A handheld version, for instance, that doesn't need to be implanted in the human body to work.
You're still not telling me what that thing is.
Easier if I just show you. So, shall we leave?
Well, there is one other thing.
Tell me something first. How the hell was Bell Tower able to nab you?
Whatever do you mean?
Come on, kid. I may not be 100% up on the triads, but I'm betting your dad's not far from becoming a dragonhead. I find it highly unlikely that the local authorities could just waltz in and take off with his son.
Under normal circumstances, you would be right. But in this case, I'm the one who waltzed over to them.
You volunteered to be kidnapped? Why?
Let's just say, my father and I do not share the same love of augmentations. I find them dangerous and not something our family should be putting so much trust in. But Father expects me to... how do you say it? Follow in his footprints? So a change of scenery is required.
I'm not following you.
Tong Si-hung would never willingly allow his only son to leave his side. I needed a way to convince him that I had to leave Hengsha immediately.
So you orchestrated the kidnapping. You're playing with fire, kid. By pitting the triads against Bell Tower, you've put the entire population of Lower Hengsha at risk.
That may be true. But you are here to rescue me, aren't you? So my plan seems to be working this far.
Right. And sometimes the more power you think you have, the more quickly it slips from your grasp.
I will try to remember that, American. Are you ready to go now?
Kind of an odd way to shoehorn that quote in, but okay, let's go.
Yeah, but stick close. Your father and I have some unfinished business to take care of, and it all goes to shit if I don't get you back to him in one piece.
Don't worry about that. I'll make sure Father sticks to his promise. Maybe even get him to throw in a little extra. But as grateful as I am for your assistance, from here on in, it's every man for himself. See you later.
You know, I'd be annoyed, but I can do that too. Anyway, you don't need to see me walking all the way back, so... Since science corners are something else, today's AV Corner marks the end of the crap cycle and the end of themed cycles in general. And what better way to end the cycle of crap than with the best and the worst movie about teenage hackers made in the 90s, appropriately named Hackers. The story about the story. The movie Hackers actually began within the hacking community. The man who wrote the screenplay, Raphael Moreau, was an aspiring writer who was intrigued by the hackers who hung out at the atrium at Citicorp in New York City every month. He soon realized that hackers weren't all a bunch of pocket protector wearing computer geeks, and he knew that the only attention they were getting was media horror stories about basement-dwelling nerds who were using their PCs to hack the government and destroy the world for the sheer joy of anarchy. I'm exaggerating here, but not by all that much. Anyway, Moreau decided that he wanted to tell their story, to write a movie from their perspective, instead of something that cast them as the villains. That's not to say the screenplay was ever gritty or realistic, but the hacking terms were genuine, and the protagonists were all based on amalgams of real hackers. The script also included a few inside jokes. The villain, whose handle is The Plague, was named after one of the hackers who consulted with Moreau. The big evil virus is named the Da Vinci virus in honor of the real-life virus Michelangelo. Michelangelo was a troublesome virus that stayed dormant until March 7th, Michelangelo's birthday, and while it was annoying and affected around 15,000 computers, it became internationally famous thanks to media attention and expert opinion doomsayers like John McAfee, the guy who created McAfee Antivirus. This all happened in 1991, by the way. The way the script reached Hollywood was through a bit of serendipity. The studio executive, Jeff Kleeman, met a woman at a bar who said that her husband, Moreau, was writing a script, and on a whim, Kleeman decided to follow up on her invitation. There was a delay for a while when Moreau got a shark of an agent, but Kleeman eventually bought the script for MGM/United Artists. He then brought in Michael Pazer as the producer and Ian Softly as the director. Softly had recently made waves thanks to Backbeat, a 1994 film about the rise of the Beatles during their time in Germany. It's a very stylistic film, and instead of playing classic Beatles music, the soundtrack is all Beatles covers performed by punk and grunge musicians from bands like R.E.M., Nirvana, and Sonic Youth. All that style came in handy, too, since the production of Hackers quickly ran into the biggest problem facing every movie about computers: how to make a screen full of text and programming language interesting. Softly's solution involved two things. First, computer screen visualizations that could show what was going on with more than just a text prompt, and second, cyberspace sequences that were filmed using scale models, animation, and rotoscoping instead of CGI. It's actually pretty brilliant when you think about it. The main cast was mostly unknown at the time. The lead role went to the English actor Johnny Lee Miller, and the leading lady was Angelina Jolie. This was her first Hollywood film, keep in mind. The director chose her because she had great chemistry with Miller, so much so that the two married in 1996. The marriage only lasted 3 years, but the two continued to be good friends. The other hackers were Renoli Santiago as the Hispanic Ramon Sanchez, Matthew Lillard as the Jewish Emmanuel Goldstein, Lawrence Mason as the African-American Paul Cook, and Jesse Bradford as Joy Pardella, whose mother is played by Bradford's actual mother. Fisher Stevens rounds out the cast as Eugene Belford, the Plague. Sadly, while the production got plenty of love and effort, the flesh was weak, so to speak. Hackers came out in September of 1995, and after a disappointing opening weekend and a lot of mixed to negative reviews, United Artists pulled the movie after its second week. That led to Hackers being the biggest bust of any film I've covered so far. The budget was $20 million, and the box office take was $7.5 million. The soundtrack got really popular though, and United Artists released 3 albums of early electronic and house music from and inspired by the film. Still, of all the mid-90s films about computers, Hackers has probably stood the test of time the best. So why don't we find out why? The story. The movie begins in Seattle, 1988. The protagonist, Dade Murphy, aka Zero Cool, has a goddamn Secret Service SWAT team break into his house and arrest him. This is because he wrote a computer virus that infected 1,507 computers in one day, including some used on the New York Stock Exchange. Dade is 11 when all of this happens, and so the judge fines his family $45,000 and forbids him from using a computer or touch-tone phone, since the internet was phone-based at the time, until he turns 18. 7 years pass, and on his birthday, Dade hacks into a TV network by calling the security guard and tricking him into telling Dade the modem number. He then uses his access to replace some racist guys ranting with an Outer Limits episode. However, Dade is interrupted by another hacker, Acid Burn. The hacker challenges him, Dade accepts, and we find out that he has a new handle now, Crash Override. ultimately, Dade loses. The next morning, we get some exposition. Dade and his mother, now single, have moved to New York City during Dade's senior year in high school. His mother is worried about him hacking again, mostly for the way it could affect his future. When Dade gets to his new school, a girl asks him about transfer forms. Based on the flashing footage, it's lust at first sight. Her name is Kate Libby, and she takes him on a quick tour of the school. Dade then falls for her new guy prank. Later, during computer lab, Dade hacks the school records to get himself into Kate's class. A guy named Ramon spots him doing it, and he introduces himself later as the Phantom Freak, spelled P-H-R-E-A-K. That's a reference to phone phreaking, a way to spoof a phone line to give yourself free minutes. They're interrupted by a newbie hacker who doesn't even have a handle, Joey, but Freak gives Dade an invite to a club downtown. The club is incredibly 90s, is the best way I can put it. Surprisingly, Kate is there, beating her own high score, and then Dade challenges her and wins the top spot. He also finds out that Kate has a boyfriend and makes out with him constantly, and that's all they do together. The next morning, Dade pranks the school by setting off the sprinklers during class. Back at the club, Dade meets Emmanuel Goldstein, aka Serial Killer, as in Fruit Loops. Serial starts in by ranting about 1984, which is fitting, since his name is a reference to a hacker's pen name, which itself is a reference to the supposed resistance leader in the book 1984. Joey brags about hacking a random Idaho bank, but Freak chides him for being sloppy, and Serial suggests that he hack a Gibson mainframe, which, yes, is named after William Gibson. That evening, Joey hacks a Gibson and on a whim downloads a file named Garbage. The sysop, Penn Gillette. Penn calls the sysadmin, the Plague, when he sees an unusual spike in activity. Joey's mother interrupts the download at 50%, but the Plague has already traced the call, and Secret Service agents show up at his house the next morning. Meanwhile, Dade and the others go to hang out with Paul Cook, aka Lord Nikon. Back with the company the next morning, the Plague announces that their systems got hacked and the hacker planted a Da Vinci virus which will cause their automated oil tankers to capsize. The virus came with a video that threatens to capsize 5 tankers in 7 days unless the company sends the hacker $5 million. Of course, that's not what Joey did, so if you're feeling suspicious, that's normal. In fact, as soon as the meeting ends, the Plague talks with one of the other executives, Margot, about how he created the Da Vinci virus to get the Secret Service to arrest Joey and get back the disk with the garbage file. Turns out they're using that file to embezzle $25 million. The Secret Service don't find the file since Joey stashed it in an air vent, so they release him for surveillance. Soon after that, the agent in charge, Richard Gill, connects Joey to Dade, and so they ambush Dade in his room and question him. They took apart his computer earlier, but it was clean. The Plague tries talking hacker to Dade to get him to cooperate, but it doesn't work. That evening, Dade goes to a party hosted by Kate. He and his friends sneak into Kate's room to look at her awesome laptop, and Kate finds them when she shows up for a makeout session with her boyfriend. Instead of ordering them out, however, she joins them in appreciating her laptop, and at this point Dade realizes that Kate is acid burn, and Kate finds out that Dade is Crash Override. The two of them declare a duel. If Dade loses, he's Kat's hacker slave, and if Kate loses, she has to go out on a date with him. Freak, Serial, and Nikon act as judges, and the rules are to harass Agent Gill as revenge for Joey. Kate discontinues Gill's credit card, and Dade puts out a raunchy personal ad using Gill's office phone number. Kate gives Gill 113 DUI violations, and then Dade hacks his employer and changes his status to deceased. As the contest continues, the Plague sends Dade a laptop with this weird narcissistic message on it. Back with Joey, his mother finally decides to unground him, so he immediately grabs the garbage disc and meets with Freak. Joey gives Freak the disc, and then Freak spots Joey's tail and they both run. Freak hides the disc behind a condom dispenser, then spends the night destroying evidence before the Secret Service arrives in the morning. When he gets his one phone call, Freak uses his freaking skills to call Kate, who retrieves the disc. Kate and Serial go to Dade for help, but Dade doesn't want to get arrested again. Kate talks him into at least copying the disc, but then the Plague calls Dade and threatens to give his mother a conviction record that would send her to jail forever. So Dade hands over the disc on a public road. But not the copy. The copy he and the others hash out at Kate's place. Eventually, Dade realizes the garbage program is a worm, one that eats a few cents from every business transaction until it collects $25 million. Dade realizes the Plague must have created it, and when he says so, he explains about the Plague's visits and his history as Zero Cool. The four of them then decide to work together to hack the Gibson and clear their friends' names. They prepare for the hack by stealing unshredded documents out of the company dumpster, by putting a trace on the company's phone line, and having Nikon memorize passwords as he walks through an office to supposedly make a delivery. As a result, they get to hear Agent Gill read out their arrest warrants and find out about the Da Vinci virus. Meanwhile, the Plague decides to launch the Da Vinci virus so that Dade and his friends will come off as guilty to the public. Kate and Dade go to find Razor and Blade, a couple of underground hacker icons, and they suggest sending out an internet distress call. Hack the planet. The next morning, the group evades arrest by hacking all of the traffic signals in Manhattan, and then they head to a phone bank in Grand Central Station to hack the Gibson with their laptops. They begin their attack by unloading all the viruses they have, but the Plague shuts them down fast and traces their location. That's when the online hackers make their move, and there's this weird montage sequence with the main cast in spinning phone booths over shots of cyberspace. Finally, Dade locates the garbage file. Joey copies it, and the other hackers DDoS the Gibson to stop the Da Vinci virus. Unfortunately, the Secret Service catches up with them just before they can get away. But Serial was somewhere else at the time, so Dade throws the disc with the worm in a trash can and shouts about trashing our rights when he sees Serial in the crowd. Serial gets the message, and then he gets the disc. There are a couple of quiet moments with Dade trying to protect Kate and his mother defending her son, and then Serial, with Razor and Blade, hacks the network to announce the Da Vinci worm conspiracy. The Plague tries to skip town, but Agent Gill catches up to him on the plane. Dade and Kate go on a date, and as they kiss in a rooftop pool, the credits roll. The analysis. God damn, you guys. Style. Style. Chock full of the stuff. Kleeman wanted to give hackers to an auteur director because this is exactly what he wanted. Half the cast has weird dream sequences. Dade experiences an old film montage when he first sees Kate, and this happens once more and then never again. Everyone wears these crazy fashions that you can only really describe as 90s avant-garde, and the cyberspace sequences have, paradoxically, withstood the test of time by avoiding CGI. I don't think it's any stretch to say that hackers prefer style over substance, but I should also mention that it does have substance, unlike, say, Johnny Mnemonic. The actors nail their roles, even though the roles themselves are shallow. The camera work is over the top at times, but it matches the mood. The music is flashy and loud, and it always sets the tone. I can see why it was worth 3 albums, even though I personally prefer metal. Hackers is not a masterpiece. It's not on the same level as Blade Runner, Terminator 2, or Dark City, but then it wasn't trying to be. It was trying to be a stylistic 90s teen movie that tapped into the zeitgeist of an emerging subculture, a genre with a surprising number of titles. And of them, I'd say Hackers is definitely one of the best. miles better than Johnny Mnemonic. So what happened? Why did the movie stumble so badly out of the gate, and yet come back to life as a cult hit? There are a few different theories about that. Theory 1. Timing. 1995 was a real bumper year for cyberpunk movies, and United Artists decided to hold off on releasing Hackers until they saw how the other films did. One of the others was Johnny Mnemonic. We all know how that went. Then there's The Net, a thriller in which Sandra Bullock faces an online conspiracy that erases her identity and tries to kill her several times after she gets a compromising floppy disk. I think I saw it in theaters back in the day, and I remember not really liking it, even though I was 10 years old at the time. The third movie was Virtuosity, starring Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. And this one is about a serial killer AI getting into an android and starting a killing spree. Apparently it was also terrible. So here's the theory. Seeing all of these other computer-based movies crash and burn, United Artists was probably feeling a little eager to pull the plug. So when Hackers underperformed out of the gate and the critics didn't like it, UA pulled it after 2 weeks, and never gave it the chance to be a sleeper hit. Second theory, Hackers was ahead of its time. Like I said, the clothing fashions are avant-garde, and that was very intentional. The goal was not to depict what teens were wearing today, but to predict what teens would be wearing 15 minutes into the future. As for another aspect of the film, the hacker and computer lingo, I can imagine it going straight over the audience's head, although the movie does take the time to explain the central concepts like phone phreaking. But what the movie definitely didn't do was court the critics. By 1995, there were older people around who understood this whole computer hacking business, but established film critics were not among their number. By 1995, probably the majority, with great reluctance, had only just switched from typewriters to word processors. And they were still making dedicated word processors at this point, as in computers that could only be used for writing. That, and the critics also probably wanted a movie that was a little more realistic, 'cause, yeah, this is good guy, bad guy fantasy wish fulfillment from top to bottom. Still, simplistic story actually has an advantage once you put the nostalgia goggles on. If a movie is not timeless, it needs to be either simplistic or to speak very honestly about contemporary problems. In the latter case, we understand that the datedness of the work is part of the movie's message, while in the former case, we can excuse all of the strange fashions and lingo as being just silly products of the times. That's harder to do when you're still living in the times, and all you can do is cringe. Gee willikers. Then there's the fact that computers have taken over. I typed on one to write the script. I'm speaking into a microphone connected to one right now. Pretty soon, I'll be editing this speech, adding images, compiling the video, and then uploading the video to the internet, all while using a computer. You're looking at a computer right now, or at least listening to one. You might call it a phone or a tablet, but it's still a computer. More people can touch type, and more people understand programming languages than ever before. And so, more people can see that despite all of the visualizations and sweeping cyberspace shots, hackers actually did the research. The actors look like they're using their computers, and not just mashing keyboards like that one infamous NCIS scene. You know the one, right? Where two people keep mashing the same keyboard for double the hacking action? So, hackers may be stylized, but it is based on reality. Thanks for joining me again today in AV Corner, and I hope I'll see you next time when I go up the computer evolutionary ladder again to discuss mobile technology.